Everybody, welcome back to Shoe and Show. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. We thought this week in particular we would take a detailed look into the retail environment that we're now finding ourselves in. So obviously at FTRA, we track a lot of data. We track a lot of sales, price. We look at inventory levels through import numbers. So we track a lot of this and we kind of give data breakdowns. But we also want to look inside the stores and a little bit inside the box, maybe, of what's happening in retail spaces. And so we wanted to bring on today Imbox, who's a partner of ours. We've got Oliver, who is the VP of Sales from Imbox, joining us today. Hello, Oliver. How are you?
Hello, Andy. I'm good. Super excited to be here and talk to you as always. Have
Yeah,
enjoyed.
welcome back. Since the last time we had you on Shoe and Show, you guys have had tremendous growth in the footwear space. Maybe as we tee this conversation up, you can just remind our listeners who Inbox is and what you guys are doing in the retail space.
Definitely. Thank you, Andy. Inbox protection is, I think I used to say it's magic in a box, but to make it more simple, it's shoe protection done in a closed box, and it only takes a minute. So usually our machine is not that big. It sits at the cash wrap at a lot of retail stores out there, and it's a service offered to the customer when they're checking out of the store. Gives them another good reason to come back to the store to protect their shoes again. And the protection is good against, water, stains, all the elements you can think of, and color fading as well for your nice colorful shoes or maybe the footbed of your sandals. So we're really an all season and all product service that you can use to drive revenue in your stores.
Awesome. So as a customer, I walk up, I've got my shoes that I've chosen. The sales associate or the manager rings me up, and then I look to the left and behold, there's an inbox, right? And so it's basically the best way I can describe it. You can help me here, but basically it is a large slender box where you insert your shoes. I'm guessing, as it works, you hit a few buttons based on the product type and what you're looking for. I'm sure the sales associates are trained as well to make sure that they do it correctly. And then basically it sprays the shoe with whatever protection that the consumer is looking for. Is that a good way to describe what it is?
Yeah, that's excellent, Andy. We try to make it as simple as possible. So training, you can learn how to do it in 5 minutes. You really can't do anything wrong on it. So it takes maybe 10 seconds for the associate to initiate the process. And then it takes 15 seconds to spray the actual shoe with what we're proud of, a water-based fluid, free from any PFAS, harmful chemicals. It's actually a silicone-based treatment and invisible to the eye, of course. So it's a clear barrier on the shoe. And then you take the shoe out and you can put it right back on if you want to, or put it back in the box. This protection is good for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, I was going to ask that 6 to 8 weeks. So
Yep.
it's an opportunity to lure folks back into the retail space by saying, maybe even if they're part of the loyalty program and you can see what it is and see they've chosen it, this is an opportunity to send a value add email to those folks saying, hey, it's been about 8 weeks since you've been in. You might want to stop back in and, code it again or make sure you protect it, especially now, like where I'm at in the Midwest, the mid Atlantic. We must have like 6 to 8 inches of rain, right? So like
Yeah.
it becomes very important at some point if you're looking for a life extension. But when you're working with retail partners, just remind me, it's a simple setup, it's simple training, but clearly you guys have been hitting the right mark with consumers because retailers keep adding your boxes into their stores.
Yeah, I mean, our story is pretty cool. I think the technology was developed around 10, 12 years ago now, really grown a lot the last 5 years. And now we have machines in, I think we're almost hitting 10,000 stores
Wow. Okay.
in 40 countries. Our headquarters based out of Denmark. And we actually do a treatment or we protect a pair of shoes around every second right now. So right now, shoes are being sprayed. And it's just a really convenient and easy way to extend the life of your shoe, just make them look longer. And also, that new shoe feel when you walk out of the store.
Yep.
You could be a little bit more comfortable the first time you wear your shoes.
Yeah, a little bit more
So
confident. Interesting. Well, if you guys ever have like a company get together at Tivoli in Copenhagen, I
yeah,
am all in. That place is awesome. Just a side note for the listeners, if you don't know what we're talking about, just look it up. It's an amusement park, an amazing small, like really cool amusement park in the middle of Copenhagen in Denmark. Fascinating. Been there. Love the city. Super awesome. You mentioned the amount of doors that you guys are in, and so that's one of the key things I wanted to talk to you about today is like kind of what you guys are seeing in the retail space in terms of consumers, in terms of the workers, just the kind of retail environment that you guys are obviously working in tandem with the retailers. Like, how do you unpackage what we're seeing today in the retail space?
yeah, thank you. That's a very good question. So maybe for us here, let's zoom in on the US. I think that makes the most sense. And so for you listeners, you can find our machines in DSW, Snipes, some Foot Locker, the Sporting Goods, Famous Footwear, those type of stores. Um, Around 1,000 locations here in the US, and our service, it is new to the market, so it's not something the consumer is still used to asking for. So we have some education we need to do in the marketplace, and we rely a lot on the staff associates, the teammates, the sales floor out there, that truly are the ones that provides a good in-store experience. You can have all the bells and whistles, the shoe protection machine, the Ferris wheels, but if you don't have good team, a good sales team, then all the bells and whistles don't shine as bright as they otherwise would. So that's something we're really looking at out there, because we do need their support to offer it for the consumer. Because if it's not offered, as with most services, the consumer wouldn't even know it's a possibility.
Right, right.
And then they don't get that service experience. They don't get that level that we call delight service that a lot of consumers are looking for when they go out there instead of shopping online. So when we into all these different uh, retail stores that are obviously competing, we try to figure out what else is the associate dealing with on the sales floor, and we try to be unbiased. And we know we're just a tiny little wheel on a big truck, right?
Yeah,
And we can't take up too much attention, but at the same time, it is worth spending attention on service and explaining the why. So that's something we're looking at a lot. And the last 3 years is when we've been in the US. We've seen a lot of different landscapes. And when we just launched, we had too much inventory. So that was an issue. And
right.
then all of a sudden we had a spending spree, and we also didn't have time to provide service. Now I just saw the report, we have less hours offered to the staff. So it's another element. And what we see, and I personally do a lot of store visits, it always comes down to the sales floor and the associates out there and understanding what is they're dealing with on a daily. So we just don't just add another task to their plate, but we have to see and experience how they're feeling towards the environment they're in.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. So I think it's interesting because we do see like retail employment is a little bit tough right now because people don't want to add more people in a tight environment with tariffs and costs going up. So we're expecting those sales associates to do a little bit more. But it is something nice when you walk up to the cash register that you can give an extra value add. And you said delight. I think it's a very interesting phrase to use in terms of retail experience, but I also know that you guys have used terms um, like a loop, like a loyalty loop of getting those folks to. So I think a lot of retailers think in terms of, oh, they're in my rewards program, and that's great because you get the data and information, and you can drive value by giving them discounts and rewards and things like that. But having something in store that does delight the consumer a little bit more, and maybe even the sales associate, because it's something that they feel like they can add to the
right.
purchase that makes the customer happy, and engage with the customer in a different way of saying, actually, and I think to add to that too, we've seen like consumers shift in terms of how they look at product too, right? They want their product to last longer.
Yes.
They're typically paying a little bit more now for a number of reasons in the store. And so obviously you want to get the full value out of it. So there is this kind of shift of a consumer looking for options of this type. Have you guys seen that in the data that you've kind of analyzed as well?
Yes, yes, that's a very very good point. So Inbox, we obviously look at how many shoes can we convert to a pair of shoes being inboxed, and obviously we only have a set amount of customers that are willing to buy a shoe protector for
Right.
their new shoes. But we're seeing usually in down periods where consumers are buying less shoes, their demand for shoe protection then goes up because they want more out of the same pair.
Right.
Similar to your survey you released, Andy, is we saw more customers buying shoelaces because then they can get more versions out of the same shoe. So it plays very well into to the life of Inbox. You could say that maybe there's being less shoes purchased, but we can sell more protectors because the consumer wants to make the shoe look nicer for longer.
Yeah, and I think
So
you're referring to the survey we did with the Alex partners, where it was interesting. We asked some curious questions because we were wondering about like life extension and value add, and one of those were what consumers might be interested in purchasing with their shoes. You mentioned shoelaces, but also the polish and protector. It went up almost double from 2024. 2024, I think we asked the question. It was 16 or 17%. In 2025, it's 36 to 40% of folks willing. So to your exact point, like in a period where people are seeing their dollar not go as far, they're really leaning into this. And I think
right.
so I think that speaks to that. But you also mentioned at the start, like your spray, you guys focus a lot on like sustainability and like stripping out chemicals and things like that. How important is that when you talk to people about the spray that they're putting on their shoes?
It's very important, and for some consumers, it's a non-starter if you use harmful chemicals. So you would already cut away a big part of your consumers. And we also do see the legislation in a lot of states moving away from PFAS and putting harsh requirements on what you're allowed to put in a shoe protection spray, for instance. So it is really important for us that we are accommodating for that, and it's a big mission for us. Of course, we have an advantage. Our shoe protection is done in a closed box, so even
Mm,
if we were to use something, you wouldn't be exposed to it. But still, we do want to eliminate as many of those harmful chemicals as we can, and super happy that we finally were able to do a water-based fluid because it's not how our product were born. It was a different type of spray that we used, but the U.S. market actually forced us to innovate on the fluid. So now it is water-based. We use heating elements to dry the shoe and secure that protective layer faster. So it's something the consumer is asking for, and we always know that we've done some research, and 70% of the global consumers are concerned about sustainability in apparel and footwear. So not just related to us, but in general. And not everyone tries to make a conscious decision
right.
whether to spend the extra money, but most of them are. I think it's between 35 and 40% are actively trying to buy something that's less harmful for the environment.
Yeah.
So we tap well into that and making the shoes last longer. Most shoes are actually thrown out. I think that's also an FDR data point that was mentioned. Most shoes are thrown out because they don't look good anymore. It's not because they're worn out. It's just because they doesn't look as nice anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah, it works well for us. It really does.
So your research shows like around 70% of folks care about sustainability. And then you also asked, it seems like a follow-up question, like, are you making the actual choice? And you said 35, 40%. So I think there's always this debate we have in footwear where it's like, well, we've got this sustainable product. How much more is someone willing to pay for it? Are they actually willing to pay more for it? Or is it something we just have to bake into our product as part of our ethos to do it? So
Right.
those numbers are really interesting, I think, to a lot of folks in the industry is because they're like, all right, well, 70% say they want it, and then only 40% are buying it, right? And it's like,
Right.
yeah, like they're because you're singling out like the idea of sustainability. It's almost like made in USA. Everybody wants to buy a local shoe made by someone local. But then you add all the extra factors, price, comfort, fit, all the other things, and it does change consumer behavior a little bit. But what's interesting is you guys are kind of providing a sustainability story for the retailer of
Yeah.
saying, hey, like this is life extension, this is value add, and it's built in with when it's sprayed, it's actually one of the most sustainable things in the market you could put on your footwear to make sure it's protected. So it's a story that, you know, the sales associate can tell to someone. I mean, and that it kind of checks all the boxes because you walk up there, you want protection, and it's
Yeah.
baked in. Sustainability is baked in on what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think even something you mentioned it as well, Andy. The loyalty loop is something that's really beneficial these days, especially combining the online store offering. We want to give the consumer a reason to come back in your stores, whether that's through your digital app, you run reward programs, or VIP situations, or any discounts that you do during certain periods. But Imbox is something you can only experience in the store. And
Yeah.
we see something with families. It's actually really cool because when the spray is happening on the shoe, you can see it happening. There's a live feed from inside. And then you have the kids looking at the machine, and obviously they get a good experience with it. So it does give them that another reason to visit your stores that a lot of companies these days heavy invest in to kind of make them refurbished and look nice. And Inbox is just a really good driver and a good reason. If you at some point buy some shoes, the Inbox exists. I wouldn't go out with my new shoes before they're inboxed, and that's kind of the feeling a lot of people get when they get
Right.
exposed to it. Um, so
Yeah, that's great. I think I like that a lot. So I think, what else in terms of the retail environment are you guys seeing? Are you hearing from folks about, um, consumers or workers? What's next for Inbox as you guys look? Are you just looking to expand, or are you gonna expand like what your options are for footwear, like to extend the product use case?
yeah, no, that's a good question, and we always look at it, on a global level. So our biggest market right now is, for instance, Germany, and they are
Oh,
dealing with different
yeah,
things than the US are dealing with right now. And then you have our market in Japan; they're dealing with other things, and we try to kind of obviously are bound by NDAs and not sharing between our customers, but we do try to take learnings from different markets and try to explain to our partners what they can look out for,
yeah,
what scenarios you may be hit with in a few months' time, and then we explain we've actually experienced this somewhere else. Maybe this is a good idea to um, re-engage your staff, explain them the why of why upselling is important, or what order you should put your upselling features. Is it the credit card first? Is it the loyalty program? Is it the inbox? Is it the shoelaces? Where we see usually you want to hit them with what has the biggest chance of yes, of course. But even more important, tell your staff why is this important.
yeah,
Your colleague, unfortunately, he left earlier today because we don't get to give as many hours out. These things can help
right,
him stay longer. It can help you stay here longer. It can help you get more opportunity. So these are the things we try to talk about in an unbiased way. In terms of our product features, our machine is going to be able to do deodorizing as well. So if you're one with feet that smell a little bit, you can bring your shoes in and get that removed. And we also have some stuff for apparel because our patents does cover that. So think about baseball hats, think about handbags, all that good stuff that also needs a layer of protection and some waterproofing. We are a scale-up company and growing fast. So now we are in 1,000 stores. We're gonna at least double that the next year. But with any company, we want to grow as fast as we can and support our partners the best way we can out there.
What do you say in like Germany and Japan where you guys are really big? Is it people using your inbox for more leather based footwear, or is it more athletic, or like is it
Yeah,
everything? Like does it matter?
everything actually.
Yeah,
We are obviously born with the idea that it's usually the shoe that you kind of raised back in the day with. This is the shoe you protect. For me
right,
personally, I grew up in Denmark. You protect your leather shoe or your winter
right.
boots from salt. That's all I knew.
Right.
But there's a story also to protect your summer shoes from the sand, from the ketchup, from your drinks, your beer, whatever it may be. And we learned that over time that the consumer wants to protect all their shoes,
Yeah.
basically. So in Germany, it is any type of shoe. You'll see it's your sandals, anything that's not rubber. And what's really cool in Germany, it's our biggest and mostly penetrated market. The consumer expects the stores to have Imbox, and they recognize Imbox as the service they get done after they buy a new pair of shoes. And that's anything from a 30 euro shoe up to a 200 euro shoe. So that's the expectations, where in new markets like the US and Japan, we do need to educate a little bit more. It's not an expectation yet.
Yeah.
Right now we have the benefit of it being exciting and new.
Yeah.
And quickly that will be overtaken by, it's just something you do. It's kind of part of the shoe shopping experience. So it's pretty cool to see. But in both markets, any type of shoe, Andy, to be honest.
I feel like in Germany, you need to run like specials for Oktoberfest protection, having been there several times myself. And
yes.
anytime you post, there's beer falling somewhere on someone's shoes. But in the US, I mean, I can imagine, like, it's summer's coming up. We got tons of storms and rainstorms. It's a good reminder to send out a note saying, you know what, as the summer floods start to hit and the rain happens, maybe it's a good time to come back in and get your shoe protected and take a look at some of our new options that we have. It's just a good marketing tool, I think, to get people to step back in the store. So
in the US, it's very interesting. When we launched here, we had some test markets in Minnesota, in California, Florida, in the Midwest. Of course, we're here in Chicago, and we had some ideas that we thought, they're definitely going to do very well in Minnesota, right?
Right.
And some other markets may be tougher, but two of our best markets are Arizona and Florida. Okay. And some of the tougher ones may be up in Minnesota. Chicago does really well too, but it's really different. It does come back to the in-store experience, I would say. The stores that provide the best experience is a store that usually does the best with Imbox and converts the most.
Awesome. So, if people want to learn more, I'm happy to connect you to Oliver and Imbox. They've been partners of ours for a while and have sponsored several events, or always at our events, whether it's our executive summit or even our Fanny cocktail party that usually happens in August. They're usually around. So I encourage you, if you see Oliver or any of the Imbox team, to say hello and engage with them. But also, like, contact them to find out, because I think this is a real game changer for experience, where you're adding real value for your customer, and it creates not just an experience. I love this idea of a loyalty loop, right? Like, this idea of constantly engaging the consumer with extra value, not an extra sales point, right? Where it's like, hey, like, come here. I think we as consumers get a ton of that, right? And sometimes we get tuned off. It could be a little different to engage your customer around, hey, we care about you. We care about your shoes. Like, it's been a couple of weeks, maybe come back in and get a spray on. And yeah, you can take a look at what we got in the store that's new too, but we care about you, kind of thing. And I think that's something unique and special that folks in our industry can do a lot more around, I think. So awesome. Oliver, it's good to see you again, my friend.
You as well, Andy. Always a pleasure. I feel like I started out as the new kid in class here, and we're almost on our way to high school at this point.
Well,
you're in the FDRA world, so it's been great getting to know you all and feeling a part of the industry at this point. It's really cool to see familiar faces out there. Hopefully, mine is becoming more familiar as well. So yes,
awesome.
It's been great as always.
Absolutely. And folks, shoeandshow.com is our website. You can get all our episodes on there. Every Monday, a new episode comes out where we try to focus on different opportunities in the marketplace, different issues, different challenges, but how folks are approaching it with unique solutions to help strengthen our industry. So we appreciate you listening. And until next time, Shoe In is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.